Nothing but rants, a show where I find topics that I'm rather passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I am hot about.
Nothing but rants.
Hot takes.
3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. You know Brooks finna cook, let him rain. Try to do it like us, but you can't. Stay the young, going dumb with the chance. Big plays lead to even bigger bands. What's up? What's the word? What's the play? What we talking about? On the scene with the team, yeah, we popping out. NBR, let's get it, let's go. Film guy, get on ready for the show. What it is, what it ain't, what's happening? We gon' hit you with the stats and the facts, man. NBR, let's get it, let's go. Film guy, get on ready for the show. 3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Hey, shout it end zone dancing. We about to start it up, it's the anthem. That right, big rings got me handsome. Hold them up like we came for the ransom. I'm in the field, 2-minute drill. Highlight reel, let's review, what's the deal, okay? Watching footage going out of control. Buckle up, we got an hour to go, so let's go, that's straight heat. Ain't no chillin' around here. Back that back, Nat Chance, how we feelin' around here? Got my whole squad in the building around here. If my name ain't on it, then I really don't care. Come on. 3-point stance, we advance. Ball in my hands, I don't take no chance. Touchdown dance, that's my jam. No hot takes, this is nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. Nothing but rants. The G on the beat, hey. Yeah.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guide Network on a fabulous Wednesday afternoon. It is noon. We are kicking it off big time. Now, here's the deal. This is either going to be the best live show we've ever done or the absolute worst. We're calling this one the Paul Feinbaum episode. Here's why. Been on Feinbaum about 3 or 4 times now, a couple of times in person. And I've always wondered, like, hey, what does Paul's prep look like? As a content creator myself, I'm a thorough prepper. Like, normally you see me, I don't have the iPad sitting here. Normally I got a notebook, and it filled with ravenous pages of notes, tremendous amounts of pre-show work. You know, some people do it that way. Some people, like my boy Paul show up with nothing. Paul show up with absolutely nothing but 4 hours to fill. And by God, if he don't fill it with Emmy award winning type of broadcast. So here we go. 2 hours, half as good as Paul. 2 hours, no notes, got a couple of bullet points here, and my boy JWill, and a fired up chat and a tremendous Wednesday. I'm excited.
Midweek, you know, it gets a little chaotic sometimes. It's college football playoff season right now. Bowl game season's heating up. Got to take care of business everywhere. Finally finished up the film notes on all these first-round games. It's a great time to be here, all right?
I was about to say, this is not a byproduct of me being lazy. This is a byproduct of just too much shit hitting the fan. Last night, I'm at a state title game, a bunch of dogs on the field. Got Donald Glover over there from Langston Hughes going up against CJ Weil and Ethan Barbour from Milton. Damn near 100 points put up in the first half. I'm expecting or hoping one of the teams to get a significant advantage so I can get up out of Mercedes-Benz at a reasonable time so I can get back to study Clemson in Texas so I can get ready this morning to break out that film study so I can get ready at noon to break out this live show. And then all of a sudden that one turns into a barn burner. Ain't no chance you're leaving it. And then you get home midnight last night. I'm up till 2:30 studying Clemson in Texas. And then you get a phone call from the next round and you're like, of course, boys, I'll come on at 11:30. And then all of a sudden you're like, shit, I got no notes for my live show at noon.
Well, that's why you have a producer who creates a show sheet and you have notes and you're ready anyways.
Yeah, normally 2 of them. But hey, sometimes 1 better than 2. Some are saying streets are talking.
This is all I'm going to say. Odds have been increased to plus 1,200 right now on a Kirby sighting in the show. Still have not seen him. Don't know where he is. So place your bets now. Plus 1,200. Starting to get some really good value, but I don't know.
At this point, I'm just hoping he's alive.
Me too.
Yeah, haven't heard from him 3 or 4 days.
Hey, just a good check-in, Curb. Just a little, hey, you boys doing good? I'm doing good. Everything's
Honey, I
good
made
over
it
here.
home.
Yeah.
That's all I want. Honey, I made it home. We're safe. I got here. We're good.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just a little check-in.
Just a little check-in. Welcome in. We got a great show for you guys planned today. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribing, rate, and review, and miss any portion of today's broadcast is made readily available. However, wherever you get your podcast, we are returning back to the 8 o'clock window. Most likely next week, but next week's Christmas week, so I don't know what we got going on schedule-wise. We ain't figured it out. We ain't had that conversation yet, but we're going to be pumping out content nonetheless. Even if I have to roll the cameras and do it by myself old school, we'll do something. We'll find a way to get you guys content next week while you're sitting at home with your family and, trying to avoid folks. We all know how it be. But no, we got a great one planned for you guys today. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Also want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Better. If you're looking for a new place this season to make player props and make those plays, head over to Better today. Use promo code Brooks. You get a 100% deposit match up to $200 on your first time deposit. Again, that promo code is Brooks over there at Better. We're going to get you a play probably tomorrow for these college football playoff games coming up. So we'll screen share, do all that good stuff tomorrow, Jonathan, and get those guys some action. We did a lot of film study on those, so should have a good inkling on what the matchup should be. I'm hammering Antonio Williams overs. I'll tell you that right now. I'm hammering Antonio Williams overs the rest of my life as long as he's a Clemson Tiger. All right, but we got a great one for you. Texas Clemson film study notes for you guys. We got final film note questions from Jonathan. We have broken down all 8 opponents that are playing this weekend, all 8 college football playoff teams that are going to tee it up this weekend. We've gone through the tape. We've grinded it out. We've got questions off of that. Jalen Mbakwe pulls a hostile negotiation tactic, walks into the Alabama facility with a bomb on his vest, or a bomb on his chest with a ticking time, and it says, hey, are you guys going to match this one? Yes? Okay, I'll unstrap this thing and deactivate this bomb. Zach Branch enters the transfer portal. We'll talk about that. And Eric Singleton appears to have found a home. Welcome in. Jonathan, where do you want to start?
I think we should just kind of put a bow on these film notes. In totality, got the final study today. Let's just go ahead and put a bow on that.
Man, I enjoyed doing this. Oh, dude.
Man, it is that type of day, isn't it?
Yeah, hold on. Talk. Phil air.
I do want to. It appears that someone in the chat has tracked down Christian, so he's safe. No need for the Amber Alerts. Apparently at lunch with his mom right now. Look at that. One more left for the show. We're still in good shape. But apparently at lunch with his mom. Thank you for tracking him down. We're glad to know he's safe.
How do we know he's at lunch with his mother?
Apparently someone DM'd him on Instagram.
Interesting. Interessante, as we say around this
real
network.
ones.
Chat some real ones. Shout out to the chat for finding him today, but not letting him know yesterday that he could have got $130 for showing up here. Shout out to the chat for that right there. Woo! What questions do you got for me, Jonathan?
I got quite a few, just because, we broke down so many different games. And so I have questions about schemes, players, and whatnot. So we'll start with this one. What coach is just absolutely grinding right now? Like, if there's a coach that is just putting in so much work, doing a lot of different things, and fighting for his life, that has now resulted in his team being in the playoff.
You know what? Myself included, been giving Garrett Riley some shit over the last couple years. I watch that guy go to work. I watch that guy go to work every time I'm on tape. I'm like, wow, he's really attacking concepts. He's really attacking, what the defense is trying to do. All right. When the defense continues to do one thing, well, he's going to start to realize what they're doing and then make them vulnerable because of it. So I was really impressed by what he has got going on right now, despite everything going around, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got an inefficient offensive line. We got an unathletic offensive line. We have one real true weapon. We got a running back that's banged up. No real good two at the running back position. Quarterback, I thought going into it, Klubnik not lighting the world up. When I watch Klubnik on tape nowadays, I have a lot more respect for him than I do when I box score scout him, which, by the way, it's a shocker how that happened.
Yeah, I think that the entire season for Clemson has kind of been this way because they struggle against Georgia. They look abysmal, only put up 3 points. Things don't look like they're getting better from last year in the offensive side of the ball. And then they go on this streak, this hot streak. Cade Klubnik's playing really good football. People are putting him in the Heisman conversation because he's putting up such good numbers. And then you look at the opponents, it's like, well, that's why they're putting up great numbers. It's App State. It's these schools that you should be doing this against. And so they kind of have some more pop-ups, like they lose to Louisville and some other strugglesome performances. But yeah, today watching the film on Clemson, it was Garrett Riley's doing everything he can. Cade Klubnik is not being a problem, especially when a team is shutting down the run game. It's all on you, number 2. What can you do? He's doing everything he can, so I definitely left impressed with him.
And the Clemson and Texas film study will be released directly after, directly after this live show today, as we've done all week this week. And what you will notice is that we studied the Pittsburgh football game from about a month ago. And the reason we did so is because I truly 100% with everything in my soul believe that Texas is about to stranglehold this run game from Clemson. I mean, they're going to put that ass in a box for 4 quarters. If Clemson has more than 65 yards rushing in this football game, they have succeeded. They have done a great job, okay, as a coordinating staff and as an offensive line. So that first and foremost. So what I was looking for is, hey, which one of these opponents has taken away the run game, meaning 17 attempts for Phil Maffa, 17 yards in that Pittsburgh game? There's your answer. Let's go study that one. He goes, I think, 28 for 42 for 288, couple touchdowns, avoids an interception, and wins the football game off of his play in that ball game. So we went and studied that one, and I left, I wouldn't say thoroughly impressed. I left impressed by Klubnik.
Mm-hmm. I think another coach that would be put into this is Josh Heupel as well.
I was about to get to him.
And for the
huge
last
misconception about that football
for the last 2 years, it's been the passing attack, it's the quarterback in. This has been a misconception for them the last few years. Of if you really watch Tennessee, it's not just all about the passing attack. It's not just about spreading you out and taking deep shots. They run the football. That's kind of their interior DNA. But this year it really got emphasized, and you could see it on film. So I think he's done a tremendous job as well.
I had a mid-major football coach yesterday. I had a mid-major football coach yesterday on a sideline talking to me, and he's been watching mid-major football all year. He ain't been grinding SEC tape. He knows that I do. We're buddies. And he says, hey, which coach in the conference is out here like you've been studying him and you've been really blown away? And the answer most of the time is Sark. I'm like, I love what Sark's doing. But the more I study Sark, the more I think I might have him. I probably don't. But I think I might get him. I think I might have a good plan for him if I ever, for some reason, in my wildest dreams, woke up and had to defend Sark tomorrow. But I think I might get him. But the way Josh Heupel has morphed this roster and morphed this football team, and this is the way I explained it to him, and this is the way you ought to explain it to your Tennessee fans or your friends that think Josh Heupel is old buddy from that one show that they constantly meme him about. What is that show?
Oh, King of the Hill?
Yeah, they always call him, what's his name from King of the Hill?
Bobby.
They always call him Bobby. All right, for all you folks that want to make fun of Josh Heupel in this gimmick of a system, let me explain something to you. All right, here's what's going on in Tennessee. They have a porous offensive line that is not very good and consistently gets beat. They don't bust assignments, but they constantly get beat. If you're not busting assignments and you constantly get beat, that tells me you're well coached, you're not good enough. All right, so that's what's going on offensive line. They have zero weaponry, zero. Brew McCoy, may one day in one lifestyle, one simulation of his life is probably an NFL football player. But that poor guy ain't never been able to avoid injury, as has the rest of the wide receiver room. So no weaponry, all right? And first-year starter at the quarterback position. I give you those 3 things. No offensive line, no weaponry, first-year starter. And then at the end of it, I tell you, hey, by the way, led the SEC in rushing, playoff team. You're going to look at me and say, huh? Give that guy the Coach of the Year award. Instead, we got people on social media going, they'll never beat Georgia. Okay, if beating Georgia is the standard, fire everyone. Fire them all. Not name Nick Saban. And not name Lane Kiffin that one time. And not named Will Muschamp that one time they had 3 interceptions and 2 pick sixes.
And, sure, you can continue to say, you got to beat Georgia. Well, you didn't beat Georgia this year. You're in the college football playoff. You have a matchup against Ohio State. And from everything that I've seen, not the media members, not the analysts picking this game, but the 2 analysts in here have picked Tennessee to win this game. The fans, you guys sure seem like you feel good about beating Ohio State this weekend in their house. So, yeah, you may not beat Georgia in the regular season, but you're good enough to where you feel like you can beat one of the Big Ten's best teams in the playoff and move on to the quarterfinal round. And if you feel like you can beat Ohio State, they went toe-to-toe with Oregon, and that'd be your next opponent.
The thing that really lit his eyes up was I told him he's an attached 12 guy now. And to a football observer that's been watching Heupel over the years, at one point at UCF, I don't think he used a tight end. I think he was a 10 personnel guy. He was so widespread, chunking it, running it, doing all the good stuff, all the fun stuff. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, coach, he's an attached 12 guy. And you're like, what? Josh Heupel? Yeah, coach, he's running super counter. What? He's doing what? Yeah, coach. He's out here in his ever-loving bag. And here's the best part, coach. A good 30% of his fan base hates him right now. They think he's a clown. I'm like, golly, college football, I love it.
Well, we kind of already got into this one a little bit, but I'll still ask it of what's the biggest misconception about these teams that has been broken?
I think quarterback play and coordinator performance at Clemson for me. I've really been heartbroken about Chip Kelly. I don't know what it is. You saw it. Mm-hmm. By the way, Jonathan here is now a certified ball knower. Not just it's osmosis. It's knowledge through absorption around here. You've now watched more film than 99% of media observers. So congratulations.
Let's go.
Let's go. A certified tape grinder out here by way of being in the room while yours truly's laying it down. So yeah. Oh, hey, yo. Whoops. My bad. What were we talking about? Misconceptions?
Chip Kelly.
Yeah, Chip Kelly. I expected this one to come over here and just be dynamite. The combination of Ryan Day's elite passing game concepts with the combination of Chip Kelly's elite way of getting to run concepts and getting balanced counts and doing great stuff. You ended up becoming a 62% run guy at UCLA and really running the rock, slowing pace down too. Really changed how he was and what he was, an attached 12 guy, really physical downhill running style. And then I see a bunch of repetitive concepts at Ohio State. And it's not Chip's trying really, really hard in the run game, almost too hard, almost doing too much. And then you look at their passing game concepts and you're like, bro, you just ran smash. You threw the ball 16 times in the first half. You ran smash 5 of the 16 concepts. What?
Yeah, I was excited for Ohio State with the Chip Kelly hire because, you look at it on paper and it all makes sense. You got Jeremiah Smith, number 1 wide receiver as a freshman. Ohio State has a tremendous track record with people like that. You got Ibuka, who's coming back, a veteran guy in that offense, has been around for a hot minute. He's been developing. That's another solid piece on offense. You add in Quinshawn Judkins, one of the best backs from the SEC, was really good at Ole Miss. You bring him over, pairing him up with Travion Henderson, one of the best backs in the Big Ten. So now, and then you get Will Howard, the very veteran, seasoned quarterback in college football who can also run. You got a 3-headed monster, it feels like, in the backfield as a running attack and then also weapons on the outside like Ohio State always has. The question would be, how does this not work? Yeah, they put up the points. They've done all those things. If you just look at it from a numbers standpoint, it's Ohio State's doing what they typically do. But then you go and check the run numbers. They're 59th in the country in rushing yards.
Bro, they're dead. They're dead 35 to 55 in everything.
Yeah.
They're right in the middle of average. With a bad, well, no, they're the only Big Ten team out here that I can't say has played a shitty schedule. Mm-hmm. They've played dudes. They've played the best of the Big Ten, and they've handled everybody but Oregon and Michigan.
Yeah, so
weird.
I'll
never get over that one.
It makes sense, but it doesn't at the same time. So it's a little mystifying to me, and disappointing is a good word.
What misconception did you have that got shattered? I'm putting you on the spot here.
I kind of today, like when you started mentioning it, it really kind of dinged in my mind of like Texas being this super innovative, maybe even over innovated offense. And I started kind of thinking back to his Alabama days because we were kind of getting at like it's simplistic, but it's almost so simplistic that's why it's good.
Yeah.
Like he does a variety of things to make it simplistic and gives you so many different looks. That's why it works. But I got back to thinking of like his Alabama days. He wasn't being like this super like massive minded offensive coordinator. It was Mac Jones and really good wide receivers, and it was basic concepts. Get number 6 the ball, get number 2 the ball, get any of your wide receivers the ball really quickly, get him out in space, run for days. That's what they did. And that's kind of what he's doing at Texas to an extent of like, get your playmakers out in space, screen games, deep overs. Quinn Ewers going to get the ball out on time.
You look at his spray chart, like you look at the quarterback spray chart for a Steve Sarkisian quarterback, especially now he's become his own head coach. Everything's at, near, behind the line of scrimmage, outside the box. Okay, apart from any type of, halfback screen in the middle of the field or anything like that. Everything's out there, and then we got some deep over concepts and digs working in the middle of the field that they'll hit every once in a while. And then every deep ball, post, all of them. So we have to cover those areas. We have to maintain the flat, stop the screens. We have to worry about the deep over. We might concede the deep over, and we have to worry about the post. So, yeah, you're right. It doesn't seem, and that's what I said on the film study today, the concepts aren't complex. What they're doing is not hard. The variety of ways that they get to it is the complexity of the study. When you go to prepare for Texas, you're preparing for so much stuff pre-snap that the post-snap stuff you better be prepared for based off the way you put yourself into position pre-snap. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm with you. The more and more I study them, I'm like, ooh, kind of simple, but not. Got a lot of tendencies, but don't.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the beauty of it.
This was the hardest question for me to answer when I put it on the sheet, and I really didn't come up with an answer. Who's the best player in the first round?
All right, so Dylan Gabriel's not playing.
Yeah.
But that was the one who stood out the most.
Absolutely.
When we watched it, we're like, wow, this guy is playing ball right now. Peter Woods comes to mind. Peter Woods bitches humans. Like, Peter Woods takes people's souls with one hand. Like, he's so big and round, and he doesn't have real long arms. It's weird. But the moment he gets to your chest plate, explosions, like dynamite hits your chest. So Peter Woods going to do some crazy stuff on Saturday against Texas. He's going to have moments where he takes over the football game. Outside of that, I'm thinking of names that popped off in that tape for us. Antonio Williams from Clemson. He's every time I study Clemson, he's their weapon. Like, he's their whole offense from a passing game standpoint. Mason Graham's not playing, but he stood out in that Michigan tape when we watched them against Ohio State. Man, we watched a lot of offense for teams that, the defensive players that we were watching stood out, like Caleb Downs when we turned on that tape. So I think a lot of the superstars in this first round for me are actually on the defensive side of the football, Jonathan. We studied a lot of offense.
Yeah, that's kind of why I think it was hard for me to.
I guess Antonio Williams, the best wide receiver we studied.
Jeremiah Smith, but we didn't really
But
study.
he's a freshman.
Yeah. It might be.
If we had to draft everybody that's eligible tomorrow, Antonio Williams is the highest draft pick, and he's going late second, early third.
Probably.
Interesting. Just something to note. I think we're going to see, apart from that Penn State SMU game, I think we're going to see some defensive battles.
Yeah, that was kind of my takeaway when trying to think of these best players. I didn't want to say any of the quarterbacks. I didn't really want. I couldn't think of like a running back that I thought could maybe Jeremiah Love, but we didn't study Jeremiah Love. We weren't really focusing on Notre Dame's offense, so there really weren't any offensive players that came to mind other than the names that we kind of already know of. Like, we didn't maybe like Hunter Helm. He's a weapon for Texas, and he's a really good one. They rely on him a lot.
Hunter.
Gunner
Helm?
Gunner Helm. Yeah. Gunner
I do it
Helm.
too. Gunner Hunter.
Yeah.
Gunner. Brett.
Gunner Helm, he was one that came to mind. But that's just because I already know about him, and we've kind of already studied Texas to an extent throughout this entire season. But yeah, I had like Caleb Downs. He came to mind. Clemson's defensive line, Texas's defensive line has some really good players. But
Chat's got a good point. Antonio Williams and Emeka Egbuka, who you drafting first?
Antonio.
Yeah, I probably will too. Emeka came back for his senior year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that kind of tells you he's not like a top 60 guy.
No.
If he was, he would have been last year. It's kind of the way I feel about those.
Yeah.
But, Ohio State, NIL money, Maybe he got a sweet bag, come
Sure.
back. I would assume he did. Another reason why people want to fire Ryan Day. Worst unit. What did you think it was? I have an answer. It's SMU's offensive line.
Oh, see, I went Clemson's offensive line.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I went SMU's offensive line, and I think it's a little disservice to SMU's offensive line because they were playing Clemson's defensive line in the film that we studied, and that's the third best unit in this playoff at that position. Texas, Georgia, Clemson, very close. Big fall off. Ohio State, big fall off. Rest of the units. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought the worst unit we watched was SMU's offensive line. They were getting hidden the whole game. I felt like from their quarterback scrambling and the offensive coordinator trying to design some concepts to win.
Yeah,
But Clemson didn't play well.
and maybe this expanded playoff has kind of proven this. I think for the longest time, it's been believed that college football is becoming an offensive-driven sport. Like, you got to have the offensive weapons, you got to have a great quarterback, you got to do all these things, and that's still true. Like, you got to have solid quarterback play. You definitely need weapons that can win consistently and do all of those things. But I think more so, majority of the teams that you look at here, defense has kind of been the driving factor for them, and that like none of the worst units that I could even think of. I didn't think of someone's secondary. I didn't think of someone's linebackers. I didn't think of really anybody's defensive line. Like, if you wanted to make an argument, maybe Notre Dame's, because they're not these big physical specimens. But the tape we watched, they didn't have Cross. So like, even then, like, there isn't like a really bad putrid unit on defense for any of these teams. They're pretty solid all around. It's maybe the offensive things, and maybe it's due to injury, like you're kind of thin at running back, or like you're dropping passes at wide receiver. So I think you kind of answered a question this year of defensive-driven teams. Is kind of how you get yourself into a top 12 spot.
I think having a good, consistent defense leads to week-to-week consistent results, which ultimately leads to you being in the playoff nowadays, right? Offense can be this, all right? But if we have a defense that's constantly doing this, we're going to win a lot of our football games. So maybe that's what we found out year one. I also think we are at a surprisingly low rate of high-quality quarterback play.
Yeah.
To be at this point in the season where we're deciding titles. And most of these are like, hey, who can run the ball and play defense the best today and not turn it over? Who can protect their quarterback, essentially?
And maybe this has kind of been a result of the transfer portal, and maybe one of these bad things of, like, guys that play football for a long time. Like, I'm going to use Will Howard for an example, because I think he kind of fits into this of Will Howard, not an NFL guy, but Will Howard going to play on a college football team. Someone's going to pick him up out of the portal. He's going to be a starter somewhere. Will Howard is not one of these, and we said this even when he was in the portal and Ohio State nabbed him, of he's not one of these elite guys, but he's going to start over anyone else in that quarterback room. And maybe even someone that would have better traits than anything that has a higher ceiling than Will Howard. So that caps their opportunity to play. So you're sticking with a Will Howard who's serviceable, who's good enough, but not going to flash and be one of these top guys.
I think my first anti-Will Howard deep state take was they just paid for an expensive Devin Brown.
Yeah.
That's what they just did. And it made no sense to me. And by the way, it sounded from everything, and I only know this because I listen to a lot of Levitard, and Levitard is a Miami show, and Mike Ryan, their executive producer who sits in your chair, is a Miami booster. He's a big-time Miami guy, so obviously they signed Cam Ward. They only landed Cam Ward because Cam Ward wanted to go to Ohio State, but Ohio State wanted Will Howard. They wanted Will Howard. So it was locked up. Will Howard was going to Ohio State. That was the chosen one up there. So that compounds this problem when you have hindsight to the decision-making process.
Yeah.
And that probably had a lot to do with Chip, right? Chip probably wanted much more running threat quarterback because of what he designs as an offense. But man, they have done everything in their power to protect this guy from a scheme standpoint all year after basically putting everything on him. You know what I mean? Like, just deciding that this is our guy. We're going to pass up on all these other dudes to sign Will Howard.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, again, Mike Ryan could be wrong on that, but when you're part of the reason, or part of the group of people that are signing the checks to make the decisions on who you're bringing in, I kind of trust your insight on where things have landed there when you're the ones that are, culpable or responsible for making the checks
For sure.
out. Best line of scrimmage unit not named Texas. What did your watching of the film do? Because I don't have a solidified answer, but I know where I'm going.
I mean, Clemson's line of scrimmage play is really good.
On defense.
Yeah. Not on offense. Tennessee has a really good defensive line, but again, offensively, it's not stout. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of these teams is like one side of the ball might be really good at that spot, but the other side of the ball maybe not so much. Like I think Indiana might be kind of a wash a little bit. Like defensive line is probably solid, but nothing flashing, nothing that's going to really stand out to you. I don't know. Maybe Notre Dame. They're kind of balanced, I would say. They're not really good at one.
This is why I went Penn State. I think Penn State's a B+ in both categories. I think they have like the one left tackle, the number 71. He's an NFL football player.
Yeah.
Right? I think they've got Abdul Carter, who's an NFL football player. He's not playing like one right now because he's playing in a new position. He's still very young as a traditional every down edge rusher. But, I mean, he's a super talented football player. Their linebackers at Penn State, I think, are really, really good. I think from a line of scrimmage and a box standpoint, Penn State's a B+ on both sides of the ball. They don't have my God, they're a liability, right? Whereas like Indiana's offensive line against elite competition, I think they're a liability. Clemson's offensive line against elite competition, I think they're a liability. Ohio State's offensive line right now, I think they have problems. Tennessee's offensive line, I think they lose way too many one-on-ones. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
SMU. So I think it's Penn State, but I don't feel great about it.
I think the Penn State pick is solid. I mean, and I think it's also because like Penn State always has good offensive linemen. They're always going to have some type of first rounder, either whether it's at the guard spot, a tackle spot, wherever. Defensive line, they're always solid there as well, and that's kind of been the case this year. So I'm fine with the Penn State pick now that I think about it.
Man. What was it? A couple days ago, I opened with an open about hostile negotiation tactics. That's the time period that we're in right now.
Yeah,
man, we had a classic example of this week with Jalen Mbakwe, former 5-star corner out of Clay Chalkville out there. That's just west of Birmingham, I think. Northwest of Birmingham is Clay Chalkville. But anyways, superstar football player, got immediate playing time this year as a true freshman out there at Alabama, both on special teams and as a traditional every down corner, mixing in with the rotation, particularly with the injury to Damani Jackson midway through that year for those guys. Enters his name into the portal, reports surfacing that there's a 7-figure deal coming from Ole Miss, and then he jumps back out of the portal, and now he's at Alabama. I told you guys, about a week ago, I came on here, I said, you guys are fooling yourselves if you think now is the time that people are just starting to listen to phone calls. No. Tampering time is October. Tampering time is September. Tampering time is November. Tampering time is way before the portal opens. The portal opening is hostile negotiation tactic time period. You're going to have football players walk into your office with a bomb strapped to their chest and a time ticking down on it. And they're going to say, hey, coach, I got $1 million waiting on me from Johnny down the street. And most of the time, Johnny down the street is Lane Kiffin or it is Ohio State, okay? And they rolling deep in the pockets. So you, as a football coach, are going to either have to call that bluff and say, okay, go ahead, take the money. Or you're going to have to counteroffer. And I think Alabama got themselves into a counteroffer situation. I think. Now, some Alabama folks that I've seen on social media are out here doing this is just because he loves Alabama.
Now, there's probably some truth to that. He obviously committed to Alabama, so there's some type of love for the school there. Obviously, that's where
Alabama.
Yeah, from Alabama. So obviously, yeah, there's some love there. But money talks. I don't care how much love you have for something. Money talks for a lot of things. So I think you're foolish, too, to completely ignore the fact that, yeah, there's some negotiating going on. I mean, there's even reports now that he wants to play offensive snaps. Like, that's perhaps what it took for him to come back to Alabama was, well, if I'm going to stay here, not only do you need to potentially match or give me an increase in money, but I want some offensive snaps.
Does he want to play quarterback?
I don't know.
He played quarterback in high school.
He played wide receiver, too, I guess, because I saw wide receiver clips of him in high school.
I mean, he caught some tunnel screens, I would imagine.
Well, that's what it would be, right?
Got some get the ball in your hand plays. Maybe that's what he wants.
I mean, that's typically what it is anyways, unless you're Travis Hunter. But if you play both ways like that, it's typically just give him the ball, see if he can make something shake. If not, get him off the field.
So they gave him extra playing time, not extra money?
That's just what the reports are. You know, it's all I'm saying. I don't know if that's actually going to come to fruition.
I think this is the best time ever, obviously, to be a college football player.
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be some type of regulation on this, right?
I hope so.
Man.
I feel like this scenario has played out more this year than it has most years already. Even though the portal has been relatively quiet, I feel like I've seen more situations of I'm in the portal, never mind, I'm back out. Like I'm staying with my team. At least to my memory, I don't know. That may be completely off, but that's
we had 2 of them last year at Georgia. Bear Alexander did this at USC last year.
She had 3 at Georgia. Kristen Miller did it.
And Amaris Mims did it a year before,
Mm-hmm.
2 years before. I'm trying to think. This example, didn't Ole Miss have one of these?
I think so.
Tyler Barron did this 4 or 5 times in the portal, committed, recommitted.
The Auburn Edge just did it. He entered the portal. Now he's staying into Auburn.
So you're maybe right. Maybe it's happening at a higher rate nowadays. What was really weird about this was it wasn't just him quote tweeting things like this. It was other people like Ryan Williams quote tweeted, "We got action," and then an Ole Miss recruiting staffer quote tweeted the same exact thing with the same exact wording on it. It was just very weird things going on with this. I thought Ole Miss definitely tampered and then probably got their bluff called by Alabama. Here's the weird thing. I've heard about Lane that if this happens in reverse to Lane, Lane just tells the kid to go take the money. So if someone walks in and says, "Hey, Coach, I'm Johnny Recruit," and Johnny Recruit tells Coach, you're offering me $250,000. SEC school down the road's offering me $400,000. Lane will look the kid right in the face and go, "Okay, well go take your money." The question I've always had is why aren't these SEC programs collectively bargaining with one another? Why are you allowing this to happen? If you're Lane Kiffin, now I know why, because there's no honor amongst thieves. They're all crooks. They're all criminals. They're all cheating the system. They're all cheating each other. I understand. But it behooves you to call one another. And in this situation right here, Ole Miss is trying to poach a player, so this doesn't necessarily apply. But when y'all are recruiting the same player, why isn't Kirby Smart calling Nick Saban or calling Kalen DeBoer or calling whoever they have and saying, "Hey, I'm not going over 250. You're not going over 250, right? Okay, cool. We're going to have to win this one with relationships. All right? Now, if you screw me over, relationship ended. Like, me and you are no longer collectively bargaining against anybody moving forward, but that's fine. But it behooves us and our donors, Jonathan, to keep our prices low, right? To blackball these kids, to blackball these negotiations, because right now everyone's holding a gun to our head, and we're 14 staffs, 16 staffs that recruit these same players every year over year. Why not collectively bargain? Because we know those agents aren't. We know those agents aren't calling each other and talking to each other about what's going on. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I guess they're just crooks.
My only thing is, you can do that within your own conference, but what happens when out-of-conference teams are starting to get in the mix? Like, what happens when someone enters a port, or like you're recruiting the same high school kid, and it's you, it's Texas, it's Ole Miss, and it's Alabama. Oh, and then Oregon's now in the mix as well. Well, you 4 SEC schools can do all the collective bargaining you want. Phil Knight just has to stroke a check, and he'll take every single one of them every single time if you do that. That's my only thing.
People in the chat are like, "That's called collusion. It's illegal." No, it's not. No, it's not.
Ain't nothing
illegal right now, Bubba. Ain't nothing illegal right now. Everything right now is on the table. This is nothing but how much can players get paid and how much can teams avoid paying those players that much money. We are in the wild, 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 wild west. And to your comment, what keeps out-of-conference players from coming in? We have the same top 20 recruiting programs year in and year out we have for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Except for Clemson. They fell out of it the moment money started getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's the same 20 teams. They're all across the country. All right. Ohio State, Oregon, Miami, Georgia, Alabama, Texas. They all compete for the same 100 players every year. Those teams need to be in a room sitting down saying, "All right, hey, we are the United Nations of elite recruiting programs. This is the way we're going about business." And those guys can collectively bargain. The 6,000 top prospects every year can't. They never will.
Yeah.
So you have the ability to do this. I don't understand why they're not. But the answer is simple, and I got it yesterday from coaches. We're criminals. We're crooks. You can't trust us. No, that guy's not going to trust me. I can't trust him. We're all trying to win. So, no, you can't.
Yeah.
Just crazy. As is this Zachariah Branch story. Now, I do have some inklings out west with the USC staff, and boy, is it spin zone time out there. You know, they've had some superstars leave their program over the last couple of days. Deuce Robinson, Zachariah Branch, and his brother, who's a 4-star defensive back. And you know what the spin zone is, Jonathan?
What?
Oh, we were really upset about losing Deuce, but, you know, Zachariah Branch, we were really upset about losing Deuce, but this latest one,
Okay.
Isn't that weird?
That is
A
weird.
weird spin. It's a weird spin to throw out there on what most are calling like one of the most dynamic football players they've ever watched in person.
Yeah.
I have a buddy who coached on the Brookwood High School staff.
Yeah.
Brookwood traveled out to play Bishop Gorman
Mm-hmm.
a couple years ago with Dylan Lonergan as their starting quarterback.
I remember
It's a
this.
good football team. I think Bishop Gorman was up 52-0 at halftime. Zachariah Branch had 5 different styles of touchdowns.
Huh.
Punt return, kick return, rushing touchdown, receiving touchdown, pick 6.
Love it.
The only thing I've ever heard that rivals that is Eric Berry doing all 7 in high school. Eric Berry had a rushing touchdown, a throwing touchdown, a catching touchdown, a pick 6, a fumble return for a touchdown, a kick return, and a punt return. 49 points
From one player.
from one player. Hall of Famer. Should have been. Damn you, cancer. Collective damn you, cancer.
Oh,
Damn you, cancer.
damn you, cancer.
Took a good one from us.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what do you think about the Zachariah Branch story?
Well, we asked for fireworks. I felt like this was some fireworks because I think it was maybe a week or two, like right when the portal opened or maybe even a few days after it. And I think actually it was right after Deuce Robinson entered the portal was, where's Zachariah Branch? Like this seems like one that would be in the portal, and it just apparently took some time for that one to get officially rolling. But this is one of those. I would say he's automatically now the best wide receiver in the portal.
He's the best player in the portal for me.
It was Singleton, and now it's Branch for sure.
So there's a list of schools that are already in the mix. It's
they were
Florida, it's
mentioned.
Michigan, it's Georgia, it's Miami, and one school, Louisville, that didn't make sense. People are like, why Louisville? I'll tell you why Louisville. Hey, remember that time Louisville had Reuben Owens, the highest rated running back in the country, committed to their program, only for him to flip late to Texas A&M, another football program who kind of historically throws that bread around? Louisville's in the mix.
And his quarterback is there now.
Yeah, that's right.
Miller Moss is the quarterback.
Yeah, you went the obvious route. I went hey, Louisville can kind of do this. Louisville historically can kind of ban the Louisville Slugger money around and that bourbon cash they got out there and put it together for some NIL.
It is Miami, Michigan, Florida, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Louisville.
So one of those teams, like most people look at Georgia and they're like, why is Georgia in the mix? They weren't in the mix in high school. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
It was a bunch of schools not named Georgia.
Yeah.
Well, there was a guy who was heavily in the mix, and it was James Coley out there at Texas A&M. Did a really good job with Zachariah Branch out of high school and has a relationship with him. Hence the connection here with Georgia in the first round.
Fitting our mold of people that Georgia will target in the transfer portal. Prior connections. There's a prior connection here.
Now, Georgia has a unique play that I'm sure everyone's got. Everyone's probably telling Zachariah, hey, are you guys a package deal, you and your brother? And Georgia's probably like, hey, we're losing 2 safeties. We're expected to lose 2 safeties. Like, well, you might be able to play here. You think that's an opportunity? I'm sure it's a pitch.
It crossed my mind of, some schools might be saying, we want you, Zachariah, and we'll take your brother. Whereas Georgia's probably saying, we need you both. Like, we need you, Zachariah, and we need your brother here because we need safety depth. We need more wide receivers. Like, we need you both. And as we talked about yesterday a little bit, there's a big difference between we need you and we want you. Georgia wants both of them, but Georgia also kind of needs both of them.
Yeah, I mean, we want a second producer. I don't know if we need one. You know what I mean? I am exhausted, though. I'm not going to lie.
Well, you got an hour and 20 minutes.
Hour and 18. We got time to fill, baby. Ain't no doubt about it. We got time to fill. Now, he did enter the portal with a no contact.
Yeah.
You know why, right?
I don't know. I figured he already knows the school he's going to.
No. He knows the schools that have a chance to get him. And just because his number's not in there doesn't mean his agent over at CAA doesn't have the contact to the schools he's actually interested in. The reason he didn't put a contact number in there is because he doesn't want teams who don't have a chance calling him. You know what I mean? He ain't going to pick up the phone from Kentucky right now. So Kentucky ain't calling. You know what I mean? Kentucky ain't going to get the number. But the agent's going to be handling all this. The contact is literally, it's not you can't call me. It's I'm choosing no contact. And if I choose yes, you can contact me, I have to give my phone number out. And I don't want to deal with all that bullshit. So no, don't call me. Call my agent.
I guess that makes sense because typically when you have a no contact on you, it's like it goes one of two ways. It goes the Williams-Nwaneri route where you enter the portal, immediately linked to Nebraska. Like, hey, probably going to go to Nebraska. Day later, he ends up going to Nebraska. Or it goes this route of no contact. Here's 6 schools that are interested in Zachariah. There seems to be some mutual interest here. Those are the schools to pay attention to. So that makes sense now that I just figure like, oh, he knows where he's going. These are the 6 schools that have been interested, potentially like ones to watch out. But there's one that seems like already fit the bill.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where he's going to end up. I would assume it feels like it's going to be pricey, right?
I was shocked that Oregon wasn't on the list.
Yeah. It's true.
As soon as he hit the portal, I was like, Oregon.
Yeah. I mean, they took Evan Stewart last year. Tej Johnson out of the portal a couple years ago before, and Tej is going to the league. I don't know what Evan's going to do.
Yeah.
Evan's draft eligible, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's Walter Nolan's class.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Maybe he comes back. He didn't have a booming year this year, did he?
Mm-mm.
No. So, maybe he comes back. I don't know. Interesting, though. You're right. I was expecting Oregon to be connected, but no, none there. Again, I think the no contact thing's just by happenstance. Eric Singleton apparently zoning in on Auburn now, per reports.
Yeah, that's the word. Is Auburn seems to be the clear leader now.
That's going to be some yards after catch monster right there. Some RPO slant for hell. He's going to make some safeties miss next year in the SEC.
I mean, seems like Auburn is kind of going all in on this next year, which is weird. It's weird to me that like things are not aligning for me right now for Auburn anywhere because you're spending a lot of money. Like people are saying they spent $2.5 million on Jackson Arnold, which if that's the case, whoa, what are we doing?
Boy,
then
you got fleeced. Holy shit. Hey, Jackson Arnold's agent, if you're listening, I'll give you 10% if you can get me that outpriced. My God. Holy shit. Give that guy 3. My God.
And this is one of those things of like people might say, there's no way it's 2.5 million up. Why would anybody leak that number out? Why would you be bragging about spending 2.5 million on Jackson Arnold unless it came from somewhere? And I don't know, but to me, whoa. First off, Ashton Daniels in the quarterback room kind of felt like that was weird as well. But again, we kind of said that this was a stopgap year for Auburn because it seems like Deuce Knight is when things really should be aligning. Like a year 2 Deuce Knight, Cam Coleman in year 3. A lot of these young players in these last 2 recruiting classes, which Auburn has recruited really well over the last couple of years. Like you start getting those guys multiple years, and it seems like you could start making a run then. But then you start spending all this money on, it seems like going in on this year, I like a Nick Singleton, and then, I don't know, to me, it's not aligning to me.
It's so obvious, Jonathan. You're missing it. You're missing, what is the old cliche? You're missing the forest through the trees or whatever bullshit is. His seat got hot. He thought he had this long-ass runway that he could turn in 6 and 6 and be okay, and everybody's going to be happy as long as I have a top 5 recruiting class. And then he gets beat by Vandy at home, and they're like, hey, buddy, 6 and 6 next year ain't going to be okay. I don't give a shit. You're going to have to go win football games. So, yeah, the timeline gets moved up when you start losing.
Yeah, if you ain't beating Alabama and you're not winning 8, 9, 10 games, it's going to heat up real quick. We've learned that rather quickly over the last couple of years.
By the way, I am of the belief that Auburn, in my opinion, considering the 5-hour radius, considering the ability for resources, considering the campus, my God, top 12 job in college football should be. Auburn should be rooted, planted, stamped inside the top 12 every single year. Now, what hurts them is the fact that they've got to play Georgia and Alabama every single year. That hurts. That's a real problem. So it would behoove Auburn's future successes for Alabama and Georgia to maybe take a little bit of a tick down. They ain't got to be 6-6, but they can't be out here running amok, just running ransack all over college football like they have been over the last 12 years.
I mean, yeah,
15.
Those are really the only times where they've had a lot of success. Is you either got a guy like Cam Newton who exists, or Georgia has some down years from like 2014 to 2017. You beat Georgia in 2017, gets an SEC title game. You get beat again, but whatever. You beat Alabama that year. Like, if Georgia isn't kind of a tick down or Alabama isn't kind of a tick down, doesn't go very well for them typically.
Now, you're a Georgia grad, so you're biased. And this is going to prove how true this statement is. In my opinion, there's no more beautiful campus in the SEC than Auburn.
Oh, I agree. I agree with that. I don't think that.
I mean, it's brand freaking new.
I don't think that
everything's new. It's all brand new brick buildings. It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, the masonry is top tier,
elite
tier
masonry.
1, chef's kiss. I don't think that
bar scene kind of lacking.
Exactly, and I don't think that when anybody's stamping the flag on Athens as the best college town, it's the scenery, the beauty. Now I think it is a pretty town. I think it's a great city, but it's the bar scene, it's the partying, it's the environment, it's Sanford Stadium, it's the hedges, it's all those things. It's not. Look at this building right here. Look at the windows. Look at the brick. Look at the it's not that.
You know what? This is a classic sober Brooks take. Hammered Brooks is all about other towns. You're right. This is classic sober Brooks take. Because Hammered Brooks would be like, y'all got one bar and I got to pay $90 to get in this shit. This is stupid. So yeah, you're probably right. Other news I want to talk about, and we'll talk about it in the local hour as well. But Dylan Lonergan, I want to talk about the fit to Boston College, Jonathan, because I think this is a Power 5 starter. I think it's a really, really good football player. And one of the few quarterbacks that I know personally that can go through progressions, that can like really read defenses and click through them and make accurate reads and accurate decisions and put the ball on time and can make every throw. And, oh, by the way, 6'2", 210 pounds, can make all the physical requirements at the position. I think it was important for him, and it's why I connected him to Boston College from the first place. Immediate playing time was a requirement, not promise of potential playing time and promise of an open competition, but immediate playing time. And that's why the Boston College and Bill O'Brien fit was immediate and made sense.
And I think, too, like kind of what we learned specifically in the ACC of if you're a talented quarterback, even if your surrounding cast. Yeah. Even if your surrounding cast maybe isn't to the standard of some of these other top-tier programs, if you're good enough, people are going to notice. People are going to find you. NFL teams are going to want to draft you. I mean, UNC has been doing it for multiple years. Daniel freaking Jones was a first-round pick out of Duke because of this. Like, if you're good enough, if you flash on tape, if you got the traits, if you got everything, I mean, you're going to find a home, and you're going to be fine. Your NFL draft stock is not going to tank because maybe you have the 300th best wide receiver as your number one target versus a top 50 wide receiver as your number one target.
All right, Drew Rowell ranked his top 5 SEC campuses: 1 Georgia, 2 Ole Miss, 3 Alabama, money sign Auburn, 5 Tennessee. Ole Miss is way too high.
I have a take on Ole Miss.
Now, let's be fair. It was rainy.
I understand
it was cold.
that.
It was gross.
I understand that.
Now, continue.
I think it's so overrated.
Yeah.
I think it's so overrated.
Yeah.
And
but they got chandeliers in their tents.
And this is what I was going to say is, like, even though it was raining, I like the Grove. I like the concept of it. And I'm sure that and I'm not even talking about like the game day environment, what that felt like or anything like that. But we walked around on campus for the entire time leading up to kickoff. We were in downtown. Like, the best way I could describe Oxford, Mississippi to you Georgians is imagine taking Dahlonega and smacking it in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi.
I'd go Milledgeville.
Milledgeville's a good one, too.
I'd go Milledgeville.
It's a square with this nice fancy building in the middle with some restaurants and some bars, and that's it. It didn't really like speak to me like, man, this is cool. I mean, there's money everywhere. That's great. It looks like that and it feels like that, but it didn't feel like a SEC town to me.
Boy, you talk about classism out there at Ole Miss.
Put the scarf around the neck.
It's, I got millions, I ain't got nothing. That's it. That is the two classes out there at Ole Miss when you go out and watch football games. And then the 2-5 that's in the student section.
Oh, strong 2-5.
Boy, there's some 2-5. There's some Brooks Austin High School up in there. There is some Brooks Austin 17, 18-year-old up in that student section. My Lord. One of 2 SEC schools I got into. Mississippi State also requires a pulse.
Just the pulse.
Just a pulse. Can you breathe? Come on, baby. We got education for you. Enough jokes about them. Great spot for Lonergan, man.
Oh, I
think he's
agree.
Going to play well up there at Boston College. Should we transition into the local hour, Jonathan?
Yeah,
Let's go ahead. We're 8 minutes short. I don't even care. I told you at the start. No notes. Paul Feinbaum episode of the Film Guy Network live show here. No notes. Best show, worst show. Don't know. Flip a coin. We'll find out. Let's finish strong. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape. All right, so I know it's our local hour. We just got done wrapping up the national hour, but in between shows here, it sounds like Caden Salter, the transfer from Liberty, is transferring to Colorado, which might as well be tagged, in my mind, with breaking news, Julian Lewis already in the portal.
Yeah.
This is so weird. I thought the whole reason he went to Colorado was because he knew he was going to play year one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is Caden Salter playing year one.
When Julian Lewis announced his commitment to Colorado, one of the first things he said about why I'm going to Colorado is playing time. Like, I know that job is open. I know that I can be a starter there. Like, that was one of the biggest reasons why he went there. And this isn't taking a transfer quarterback from Liberty that's going to be a solid number 2 for you. This is Caden Salter, who has played multiple years at Liberty and has one last stop in college to try and do anything else after college.
Bro, Caden Salter was an Elite 11 quarterback that signed with Tennessee out of high school, that got into trouble within a month that he was on campus, has to transfer out, goes to Liberty, starts for 2 years, and is a dude. He's a guy. Like, you're right. This was one of the best, if not the best quarterback, depending on how you look at the evaluations. It's the best quarterback in the portal, and he is their starter. I would assume they're paying him to be their starter at Colorado. He's not going out there to compete against the freshmen that y'all just brought in. He's going out there to start.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say is you're not paying him backup money. That's you're paying a decent price tag to get Caden Salter on your roster. So maybe they had prior conversations with Julian and they told him like, hey, we're going to take a 1-year guy. He's going to be the starter, and then after that, it's all you. But everything into that recruitment and what Julian himself was saying was, I'm going to play for 3 years starting my freshman year, and that's going to be at Colorado.
It also goes against everything Deion said on the recruiting trail. Deion says, if I recruit high school players, I expect them to be difference makers as soon as they get here. He said, you won't see me taking developmental players. You see me taking instant impact guys. I'd be calling Julian if I were an agent or a reporter and just feeling out what they got going on, what the syntax and the diction on the word choice and how they're talking about this decision is out there in that camp. Because you're right. Everything about the decision, everything that has come out of that camp about why they're going to Colorado was because they expected immediate playing time. And this immediately puts a stomp in that. Welcome in to our local hour. We got a great one for you. Milton versus Langston in yesterday's shootout. I'll give you the rundown on that one. Some Georgia players balled out in that one. Georgia, I'm going to let you know, I think Georgia's definitely, based off everything we've seen them do, I think Georgia's definitely going to take a body out of the quarterback transfer portal market in this window. And I'll tell you a little bit about that here in just a second. Brock Bowers going viral right about now.
Always is.
For the classic Brock Bowers. We'll talk about Zachariah Branch and the potential connection between him and Georgia. Nate Frazier, an early Heisman candidate for next year. Looks like Louisville tight end just committed to Oregon. What's the feeling headed into this playoff for Georgia? What's considered a success? And Jonathan's going to play a little game of What If I Told You? Or are we both doing that?
No, I got 2 scenarios for you.
Hell yeah, Jonathan. Good work. Where do you want to start? I want to start with this quarterback stuff. Okay. So Dylan Lonergan commits to Boston College yesterday. And based off everything I've heard, that was like a real decision. Like it was either Georgia or Boston College, and he might have ended up going to Georgia. And I've been the guy on here doing the "you're playing with fire" take, right? Like you don't need to be telling Gunnar Stockton that you think he can go win a national title while simultaneously actively recruiting a guy to potentially be his replacement or to compete with him for next year's job. But here's where I've failed in talking to you guys as the audience and as an analyst in today's world of college football. I'm soft. That's the reality. If I were in the room giving my take, standing up saying, "Hey coach, don't you think we're playing with fire? Don't you think we're playing with the emotions of our quarterback that we're asking to go play and win a Sugar Bowl? Don't you think we're playing with his emotions for telling him that we may be seeking his replacement in the portal?" And that room will look at me and go, "Man, aren't you naive to the world of college football nowadays, you PUSSY? Aren't you just soft?" Because this is business, Brooksy. This is business. And we are actively recruiting and actively and trying to improve on the roster every single day, day in, day out. That's the way this business is. So, Gunner, we told you all year we are potentially going to be in the portal for another body at the end of this year. That's what we told him. We've been actively telling him that all year. Every bit of our move. We're going to take potentially 2 high school quarterbacks. We're going to load this room. We're going to put more and more bodies in this. Carson going down and you now having to do your job of being the backup and going in and winning games, that did not take us up our path of improving our 2025 roster. And me, softy, guy behind the microphone giving opinions, thought, hey, that's a lot to ask of your quarterback to be a robot and be emotionless and be about his business and go be a pro and understand that this is cutthroat business. But that's what it is. Business is business. Stop being soft, Brooks. Stop giving soft takes. So I got a new take. Tough shit, it's business. If they bring in somebody that can potentially replace you, go beat him. Go beat him. And that's it.
Well, then that's what I was going to bring up of adding more bodies into the room is only going to, it should provide more confidence in you of whoever wins the job next year. And you're going to get answers about Gunner in the playoffs. And even if it's just one game against Notre Dame, you're going to get some type of answer about Gunner. But adding another body into the room, along with 2 high school kids, Ryan Puglisi, Jaden Rashada, all in the room, that should make you feel even better about who they choose as their quarterback because somebody, and it will say it's Gunner. Gunner had to survive all of that. And he even had performances, and maybe it's a great performance in the playoff, and then he goes and battles off everybody in the springtime, and then they tap him as a starter. You should be feeling great about Gunner Stockton being your starting quarterback. But whoever it is next year, you should feel great about because they had to stand off all of that throughout an entire spring window. And they ultimately won the job against 4 or 5 great college quarterbacks or college SEC caliber quarterbacks.
And here's the crazy thing. All these quarterbacks that they're talking to or evaluating, all those guys are looking at this room and all they're asking themselves is, can I win the job? Right? Can I win the job? And maybe they come to practice. And maybe they watch practice and they watch them and they're like, oh, yeah, I got this. I can come win this job. And then that dude goes out in the Sugar Bowl and he's a football player and they go win football games. And, you know, he just finds ways to win. And whatever you saw in practice doesn't play out in the game. And then he goes and wins the title. But you've already transferred there because you watched practice and the window's closed. And they play January 1st. But you made your decision between December 17th and December 28th. And now you're a Georgia Bulldog. And you've already transferred there. And that dude goes out and plays his way into winning the job. Man, I'd be nervous thinking about transferring to Georgia right about now, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns.
Like you could make a bad decision with your last year of eligibility or maybe your last 2 years of eligibility thinking that watching routes on air, watching Gunnar Stockton throw the ball, that you can go beat that guy out. Meanwhile, that has very little to do with the evaluation of Gunnar as a football player. We know he's not an NFL first-round quarterback, but we know he might be a damn good college quarterback.
And you too, like Ryan Puglisi is going to be entering his second year. He got hurt in the springtime, so he didn't get to fully finish out his spring window last year, like his first full session with Georgia. So, like, there's so many – it's not even just unknowns with, like, Gunner, how he could play in the playoff, of, like, what could end up being the storyline there of who knows what year 2 of Puglisi is going to look like. Who knows what year 2 of Rashad is going to look like when he's now had half a season with Georgia, and then now he's in the springtime, and he's fully invested on trying to win the job. There's so many unknowns there that the talent level wise, like, you might look at yourself and you might look at some of their quarterbacks, you might watch them throw on air and say, like, I can compete with these guys, but there's so many other layers to this that are dangerous to play with.
And look, we don't know what the outcomes are going to be. We don't know what it's going to be. All I can do is judge their actions, right? How they're moving, how they're shaking as a staff to indicate to me, because I'm not at practice, to indicate to me what they feel about their quarterback room. And here's how I'll lead it. And here's how I'll tell you. When Stetson Bennett was playing in 2022, and everyone knew 2023 they were going to have a new starter, they weren't out here going balls to the wall in the portal, seeking everybody out, flipping over every rock, worrying about what that – because why? Because they thought they had something in Carson Beck, right? They thought they had the answer. They knew – yeah, Brock Vandagriff was on the roster, but, you know, they kind of knew Carson Beck was the 2, so much so that he was the 2 behind Daniels for a moment there in 2020. So I say that to tell you that they clearly don't know for a fact. They like their room right now, but they don't know for a fact that they have the right guy right now, or else they'd be sitting on their hands like they did the year Stetson was playing his last year of football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because this one does feel different than the way it did with Beck, because people built it up as a competition, but even before Stetson got off campus, I mean, the storyline was, this is Carson Beck's team. And Kirby Smart even said it as Stetson Bennett walked off the field in a national title game, told Carson Beck, it's your time now. Like, this is your team now. Before the spring window even opened. So even the staff, like you mentioned, they knew. They knew what was happening next year. And to an extent, they know what's happening next year, but they don't at the same time.
Buddy's absolutely cooking me right now in the chat for my Auburn campus take. I'm sorry. I like fancy brick buildings. They got nice new ones. Not old brick. Not brick I need to pressure wash. I'm talking about fancy masonry. Fancy masonry.
Ain't got none of that moss on it. Ain't clean.
Ain't got none of that moss. Don't need none of that pressure washing. They got that pristine brick.
Premium.
They got the price of the brick done gone up out there in farmer land. What was I going to talk about? I know where I was going next. Zachariah Branch. People keep asking about it. Now, who is it? SEC Shorts. They do that. Georgia fans and hope. Isn't that what they do that to them? Every time there's an elite weapon in the portal that connects themselves to Georgia, I feel like Georgia fans just start making out with hope in the corner. They got some real hope here. And it's through a relationship. And I do think that, you know, Georgia leads on like they don't pay. Mm-hmm. That's like when they talk to us, like, we ain't out here doing the negotiation tactics. But when there's a difference maker, they tend to pony up. And if it requires a pony up here, I think they might do it.
And if anything, like specifically this position, it seems like Georgia certainly stepped up their game at wide receiver. In the high school ranks, they did it with C.J. Wiley, Taylor, Landon Roldan. I mean, they got a bunch of guys in that wide receiver room coming from the high school ranks this year. So if you're doing it at the high school position, what makes you think they wouldn't be willing to do it in the transfer portal as well when a difference maker is there? And that's what they typically get out of the portal, is a guy that can impact the roster day one, going to be a difference. Zachariah Branch would be that, because Dominic Lovett is not going to be on the roster, and we're like, you need somebody to fill in somewhere else. And you really don't know the other players that might leave, but
he fits like every prospect profile out of the portal checklist that they have. Previous relationship. Yep. Instant impact. Yep. Bring them on in.
Yep.
Let's go. I mean, now the last box is the price right? And I think you might be in a position right now where the price is what it is. Now, let me ask you this, Jonathan. If I had to, let's just throw numbers out, right? If I had to pay 1.5 to sign Zachariah Branch and his brother, or $650K to sign Dane Key, which one you doing? All right, here's the deal. If I spend the $650 on Dane Key, I get to go add some body literally a body at the safety room with it.
Yeah, so either way, you get both.
Yeah.
I feel like an X receiver is more needed right now. That's my feeling, because you don't I don't see anybody in the room today right now that can absolutely do what Dankey is, because they're not molded like him. They don't have that body type. I feel like you have players on your roster and guys that are coming onto your roster that can fill out the other spots on the roster. Like London Humphreys can play multiple positions at wide receiver.
Wrong name. Zakovi White.
And I was going to go down the list of like Sokovie White can do multiple things. Nitro Tuggle can do multiple things. Anthony Evans can do multiple things. Like, you have guys that can fill out the rest of the spots. You ain't got a key on the roster right now that can just go be an X and is molded like that. That's the biggest difference, is who is molded to do that.
Yeah. I just like, if we're going to pay, and these are all expectations. Like, we expect the Zachariah Branch price point to be expensive, because why wouldn't it be?
Because
right?
Singleton's getting whatever.
Right? Singleton's getting whatever. This guy, everyone thinks is better. The schools that are involved need football players. They got exorbitant amount of money. There's no way that this is going to come cheap, right? So that's our thought process. And I think we're in the right sound mind for thinking that. So that's what it boils down to me. Do you need, like, and that's what they're doing in all these rooms, by the way, guys. They're sitting there going, here's where our needs are. Here's what the resources we have readily available, all right? So we are put under a salary cap. So we have $1 million to go get what we need. All right, well, we need 3 players. Well, these 3 players are going to cost $333,000 a piece. Or we can go get 1 great player for 800 racks and then hope we can solidify these other 2 spots with 2 guys that cost $100,000 a piece, right? It's player acquisition strategies left and right. And Georgia normally plays the route of, I'm trying to get a bunch of really, really good players to come in here under a discount price, right? We're trying to be great, 22 across the board. We don't necessarily need to overpay for 1 great player. However, once we got 22 great ones playing for a reduced amount of price, can we find a way to go out and buy the blue chipper that we need every once in a while, right? Mm-hmm. Can we beat Florida State out for KJ Bolden? Can we hold off Ohio State and Oregon for Nate Frazier, right? These things don't come free, no matter how much they want to tell me that they're out here not doing the hostile negotiation taxes, that they don't pay. Bullshit. Y'all do. Y'all have a good roster. Y'all do every once in a while. Is this one of those every once in a while? That's the question.
Well, what I was going to bring up is not to do this thing, but the route that you have been going with wide receivers in the transfer portal hadn't really been paying off to what you thought maybe it would be. Dominic Love has been a phenomenal player for Georgia. He's been good. He's been
I think phenomenal, strong. I think the good one's the right word right there, bud.
Good one, but phenomenal in the sense of he kind of did what you hoped of. He started for you. He's a contributor for you. He's been healthy. Like, other than he hasn't put up the numbers even that he did at Missouri. Like, it didn't exceed the amount that maybe that you hoped. He hasn't been like the super explosive playmaker like he was at Missouri. The Ra Thomas and Colby Young situations are what they are. I mean, it just hasn't panned out. Like Michael Jackson, he's back in the portal now. London Humphreys, still TBD. He has a solid first-year intro to Georgia and could still build upon that in the playoffs. But
not an X.
Yeah, it's just like it hasn't panned out like you hoped. And so maybe maybe that's more of a reason to try this. Of you kind of went the route of, hey, this guy put up 700 yards at USC or Missouri or whatever. Let's try and get him on this roster, and he can probably expand upon that. Why not just go get the verified dude and just play him at like that? Even if he does the same numbers that he did elsewhere, we're going to be all right still.
I think you have, like, Zachariah Branch is great. I think he's great. But if he cost, let's say he costs $1.2 million, all right? And instead of that, I just give Zakovi White 300 racks.
Yeah.
Is Zakovi White 1/4 as good as Zachariah Branch? Because I think he's more than that. I think he's like 70% of Zachariah Branch's freshman year. Well, I mean, Zachariah Branch didn't have a great year this year. Hell, Zachariah Branch didn't have a great close to his freshman year. He got kind of not solved or figured out, but like first 5 games were like, shit, is this kid going to win the Heisman as a true freshman? And then he kind of, So I'm of the belief that if we're going to overpay, we overpay for Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah.
We overpay for the 6'3", 200-pounder that he's got to literally forget how to catch the football to not work, Where I feel like with these slot receivers, these gadgets, like we got to find ways to get him open, create ways to make him great after the catch. just throw the ball to that dude over there. Give me one of those. Overpay for one of those. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm that. I'm at that point now.
Find your next F. He down there somewhere.
Yeah, fucking he down there.
That's what you need.
He down there chilling. We're just going. That makes 3rd and 8 so much easier. You know?
Yeah.
It makes red zone possessions so much easier. A great slot weapon on 3rd and 8 don't do much for me other than mesh spot. Hope he can run the grass.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of teams can stop that if we get repetitive in it. So yeah, I'm of the belief that Georgia need to be out here overpaying for an X. Your offense just seems so much better. By the way, if Gunner is the guy next year, like some route specialist isn't what I need. I need some guy that can just win. Give me somebody that can win that catch point every time.
Go beam a back shoulder ball.
Hell
Bang.
yeah.
That's
Hell
what we need.
yeah. Hey, Gunner, we got that guy over there. Just throw the piss up out of it.
Okay.
Heck yeah, coach.
Yes, please.
Heck yeah, coach. Heck yeah, coach. Give me some of that. Where should we go next? We got a lot of notes on here. Where should we go next? Where do you want to go?
Let's talk about some Brock Bowers.
You want to talk about some Brock
I
Bowers?
love talking Brock Bowers, but especially this. I don't know. It's gone viral, so probably a majority of you have seen it, but I wanted to talk about it. So because timestamps, everything.
Again, want, need, might need.
Yeah.
Come on back, Christian. We'll welcome you back. My man's swimming in some deep waters right now. He's a little worried. Go ahead.
Anyways, but I love this Brock Bowers moment because it was such a thing of, I didn't watch this live, but I have a feeling that if you did watch this event live, and I'm talking about the Roy McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, Scotty Scheffler, there's one other name that I was missing as well on there. But anyways, there's a golf match happening, and all of a sudden the TV cast is like, all right, we got a special guest with us. Brock Bowers is here on site with a microphone, basically acting like a sideline reporter. And my whole thing is, have we not learned?
Did y'all not read the scouting report? Did y'all not read the scouting report on my man from Napa? My man from Wine Country does not like to be on television. How much do you think his agent had to convince him to go do that? Because he was obviously there on behalf of a marketer sponsor, right?
That, and I would also say, like, maybe it was like, oh, I want to go to this cool golf event. Like, I got a day off. Like, let's just go. And then they're like, Brock Bowers is here? Mic him up right now. We need him on. And he's like, shh. Maybe he'll learn this eventually. You can't just show up places, Brock. They're going to want to put a microphone in your face, okay? And you got to live with it. But it was just quintessential Brock Bowers. Like, they asked him about, like, oh, you had a game yesterday, Brock, played the Atlanta Falcons. How's the body feeling? Yeah, a little sore. Walking around helps, though. and it was funny to me because you could hear the TV crew like, is he done? Like, I need to have another question, right? He's like, oh, we need to ask him another question. And then,
when interviewing Brock Bowers, the answer is always yes. When asking, is he done? Yes, he is done. He was done before he showed up. He was done. My favorite interview he ever did was Alyssa Lang's interview with him during the G-Day game about his winning the John Mackey Award. She was like, how's it feel to have been the first player ever to win this award twice? Good. Are you glad to be back in Athens? What an awesome time to be here for the spring game. I love Athens. Back to you in the studio, folks. This guy's giving me nothing.
yeah, we're going to have to learn, guys, all right? You just got to live with it. Like, he's a superstar. He's going to be a big name in the NFL for a long time. He already is. He's trending every single – just keep it at that, though. Keep it to the Twitter clips.
Do you think he's a bad interview now? We interviewed him on this network when he was in high school.
Oh, I watched it. I went back and watched it.
How bad is it? I remember being in a mint blue polo. It's just a terrible look for me. But anyways, how bad is the interview?
I didn't think it was that bad. I thought he was more open then a little bit than now.
How did I open him up?
I'm trying to think of what your
Did I
question.
talk about his versatility?
Oh no, your first question was asking like, what's it like being recruited by Georgia? Like Todd Hartley. Yeah, like, what's it like being recruited by those guys? But yeah, just we got to learn, guys. All right, just we can admire Brock Bowers on the football field, and we admire him from afar in public, but don't stick a microphone in his face.
And if you do, you got to walk in the water.
Yeah,
you got to really hold the ball for a good 30 seconds and really let him think about where he's going. Let him know where you're going with the end of the play early on in the possession. Okay, hey, we're going to hit you in this corner for a spot up 3, but the next 28 seconds, I'm going to dribble the ball. Just be ready to shoot. And then you do it. All right, Brock. And then you give it to him, knock down 3. He's a corner specialist. You can't ask this guy to create offense by himself.
No.
Can't do it.
Brock, what do you think about Georgia being in the playoffs? Hope they go far. Got some injuries. We'll see what happens.
Chat says he's the Kawhi Leonard of the NFL.
Yeah?
I don't think so. Kawhi gave us dozens and dozens of memeable moments.
Yeah.
I don't think Brock's ever going to give you memeable moments. I think you're just going to laugh at the fact that he doesn't want to be on camera. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
All business. All business.
There are some dogs that love being on camera. I don't know if you saw the
Is this transition?
A little bit. This isn't even on the notes. I just thought about this. They do a mini documentary on the Philly dogs.
Yeah.
So it's like Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Nakobe
Nolan
Dean,
Smith's a ham.
Jalen Carter. Actually, Nakobe Dean was the feature of this one. He was doing majority of it. And I'll tell you why. He's Pops. That's Dad. That's Dad of the group. Like when he's talking about the dogs in Philadelphia, Nakobe Dean is like, this is where we came from. These are the guys. Like this is why we mold into this. This is our DNA. This is what we do. Like that's how he talks. And then you get some sidebars from Nolan being Nolan and JD making people laugh, and then Jalen Carter just being the animal and the freak that he is. But it's because he's Pops of the group. That's what I learned.
Better interview, Nick Chubb or Brock Bowers?
I don't know.
That's what just happened right there is about how the interview would go. You know, it's just dead silence. It's like, so where should we go next?
Those are the profiles Georgia needs to find. You need to do your typical thing on the recruiting trail. Go get your 5 stars. Go get your animals, but find the best player that talks the least. Nick Chubb was phenomenal for you. Brock Bowers was phenomenal for you. Go find one of those every single class.
Unless he's Ethan Barbour. And then sign that guy. You know? Unless he's really good and talks shit. No in between. Mm-hmm. Real good doesn't talk at all. Real good won't shut up. No in betweens. I don't want somebody who's really good who occasionally talks some trash. I want a silent killer or a boisterous serial killer. That's what I want.
I like it.
Yeah.
Good profile.
Good profile. Should we talk about these state title games?
Yes.
All right. Man, what a ball game last night. So Milton and Langston Hughes, I think it's 45-35 or 42-35 at halftime between these two football teams. Both teams made some substantive adjustments in the second half, or at least Milton did on the defensive, Milton did on the defensive side of the football. The Geaton kid is his name. He is a track star at Langston Hughes. They got 2 of them, Jonathan. They got 2 receivers at Langston Hughes. One of them's a 10.38 guy. The other guy's a 10.55 guy.
Sheesh.
Yeah, buddy. They can burn. That's exactly
one of them's
what
committed
they
to
did.
Georgia, right? To
run track. The Geaton kid who went off yesterday, number 15. I mean, if I were Georgia, I'd be having a conversation. Like, hey, track coach, will you let him come run some vertical routes? That's all we need. Just run. Just run straight. Quarterback, throw it as far as you can, and he'll go run up underneath it. But I've got an opinion about Donald Glover, Jonathan, and here's how I've decided what a good offensive lineman looks like. Good offensive linemen are never near the ball as long as their defender is attached to them. Mm-hmm. Donald Glover's never near the football. Him and his assignment are 35 yards away from the rock every single time. I think he got called for 2 illegal offensive linemen downfield yesterday. Because you know why?
Because he's just putting them in.
He just grinded.
Yeah.
He's just grinded. He's just out here putting folks downfield over and over and over and over again. Also, you know this from firsthand experience, mega shit talker. Mm-hmm. Mega shit talker.
Whiskey drinker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Whiskey drinker. Whiskey drinker needed. Now, here's what I love about Dontrell, as I'll call him, Donnie. Donald Glover is not anything like any of the offensive linemen that they recruit normally. Except, Cortez Smith goes outside of the norm, but he's a traditional center. But from a guard and tackle standpoint, Jonathan, what has their physical profile looked like at those 2 positions the last, 3 classes?
Big, tall, massive.
Yeah, you big, you like to eat, you semi-athletic, you come play for Georgia. That's been the rules. Donald Glover is not that. Donnie's like 6'3.5", 6'4", maybe.
Yeah.
He's not 340 pounds. He's maybe like 305, maybe 310. Whiskey drinker. Just violent. Violent, mean, angry, all those. Give me that. And I remember watching Stacy watch him at practice during spring. I happened to time up my day going to Langston with Georgia, having to be there in their day evaluating. It was just happenstance, to be honest with you. It doesn't happen very often. It's just happenstance. And I've seen Donald a lot, but when I watch Georgia guys eval potential Georgia players, I'm almost watching the coach watch the player more than I'm watching the player. Mm-hmm. And you could just see this shit-eating grin on Stacy's face the entire time. He's just like watching him. He's like, oh my God. Because Donald's just destroying people left and right during practice. Echo of the whistle type guy. I'm all over my man Donnie Glover. As I am JWill and Ethan Barbour. Now, I watched the last Infinity Stone moment yesterday, Jonathan.
I know what you're talking about.
I watched the last Infinity Stone moment. Now, JWill, 6'4", 210 pounds, 10.78 guy, a 10.81 guy. If you think he was win-aided in that 100-meter, like it freaking matters, ESPN Recruiting Services, like it matters the fact that it was win-aided. He's 6'4", 210, and ran 10.8. Shut up. He's a burner. Sorry, sidetrack. This guy has always been an elite physical specimen. Always been an elite emotional IQ guy. Always been, we know he works hard. Always been a great human. Always been, checks a ton of boxes. NFL pedigree. Mom is a track runner. Like, a lot of things to love about this football player as a wide receiver. Production out of this world. 1,400 yards last year in 7A. Went over $1,000 this year in 6A. So this is a guy who checks a lot of boxes. The last thing for me has been what, Jonathan?
The hands.
The hands. Not a natural, sure, 100% catcher of the football. And when the ball's in the air, I've always like, you're going to put your body in front of it, but are you going to go up with two hands, snatch that bitch away, pull it away from a defender, separate late? Are you going to do that? He did that yesterday. On a delightful ball from Luke Nickel. It was a great football. But, man, when I watched that guy go up away from a corner, high point the football, snatch it away, protect the ball, go down, score a touchdown, that was the last question. It's the last question, and that stamped it for me. I know my comp. I'm standing by the comp. I don't know if it's going to land. I don't know if it's going to hit this high, but I think this is Terrell Owens. That's what I think this is. Terrell Owens, arguably a top 5 wide receiver of all time. Some people argue top 3. He certainly would. Stats say he is. Had a 7% drop rate in his career. He dropped a lot of footballs, but damn if he didn't go 8 for 220 in a lot of football games over his career. As can this guy. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm good with the eval. I think it's going to work out. And I feel comfortable about it.
Well, and this is a product of a guy that, too, works at it really hard, works his craft really hard. And so for this to show up on the biggest stage in a state title game right before he gets to Georgia, that's a product of that. That's a product of you putting in work and doing the things necessary to get yourself ready for not only college football and playing at Georgia, but playing in a state title game where you got to score a touchdown, you got to strip it away from somebody, you got to go up with strong hands in that moment. That work paid off.
Is a grinder, an absolute grinder. Here's a story of said grinding. Took an official visit out to Texas A&M at that LSU game, I think it was. They won a big one out there. That's the week they got Aaron Gregory and Jordan Carter to commit that Monday following that commitment. That's a night game out there in College Station. I don't know what the logistics situation of getting to an airport out of College Station is, but I would imagine it's not easy. Probably didn't get home until Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Like probably took a red eye out. Milton's coaching staff, because I was checking in on how the visit went. Milton's coaching staff told me that he was at Milton High School after that official visit at 11 o'clock in the morning. They saw on the security checkpoints. He was in there punching clock. 18 years old, Brooks Austin. Ain't no way. Ain't no way doing some shit like that out here grinding like that. So I always knew, and that's what made me feel comfortable about it, even initially when I had concerns about the dropping of the ball, especially after watching things that we've seen this year from Georgia's wide receivers core. I always knew that eventually you could work your way out of some of it. Now, there's a theory about catching footballs no different than shooting basketballs. You're just a shooter or you're not. Now, you can improve upon it, but you're never going to be transcendent as a shooter unless you're just naturally a shooter. But you can work your way into getting better at it. This is a guy who's going to work his way into getting better at everything that's wrong with him, if there are things that are wrong, and there's not a ton of them.
Yeah, I mean, the ceiling for everybody is going to be different for different categories, but the true difference is who's going to actually maximize that ceiling. Like, your ceiling as a catcher might be here while someone else's might be up here. But if you maximize yours and they just stay right here, they don't ever actually maximize theirs, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the ceiling says about you, of what your cap is.
And you know what else doesn't matter, Jonathan? If he has a drop a game, big drops, huge drops, man, that was an 80-yard touchdown. He dropped that ball. But if he go for 8 for 220 and every single one of them games he got that, and you ain't going to say a damn thing. You ain't going to say a damn thing about none of them drops as long as he's out here just head-topping everybody, every other time that he doesn't catch football. And, by the way, it's like one of the things that Georgia's really, really missed. They can scheme guys open. They got guys running the grass. But what they have missed is just dudes that are, I'm going to run by you today. I'm going to run right by you today. There's nothing that you can do. I don't have to double up. I don't have to, we're going to run a dig and then work up on the front side safety or whatever. No. You're just going to run by this guy today. We're going to throw the ball to you. That's so simple. That's so simple because I, as a coordinator, the greatest coordinators of all time, whoever you think that guy is, insert name here, that guy's only in his bag like 6 or 7 times a day. All right. On any given Saturday or Sunday, that guy's really only designing absolute winners. The defense is compromised. They're going to win. We're got a touchdown on this 5 or 6 times in any given football game. The best. All right, the other 70 snaps, those are down-to-down greatness, right? That's down-to-down consistency on how good are we at our base install? How good are we at our week 1 install shit? All right, how good are we as football players? How good are we as talents? That's what wins football games. Coordinators win it on those 5 or 6, and all of them are really good at that at this point in the season. So, what else did I have on this Milton and Lake? Oh, my God. Tristan Payne. We got a lot of football coaches that watch this network, and I'm bamboozled. I'm confused. I'm confused how a 5'11", 175-pound wide receiver can do what Tristan Payne has done in 7A and 6A football 2 years in a row at an elite program where he knows ball and he knows how to do the right things. And by the way, always gets open and always catches the football. How this guy does what he's done and has no offers. None. His biggest offer is Morehouse, who, by the way, Morehouse, good on you. Good on your staff. All right, and I guarantee that's Coach Raw. I guarantee that is. And name-dropping Coach Raw to this chat right now, y'all have no idea who that is. But I guarantee it's a guy who was on that staff, who knows high school football, who was out here like, hey, this kid can play. Why does he not have an offer? Why? And I'm about to stop. You know what? And I'm going to do the same thing Ben Reeves did, the head coach at Milton. And this is great on him. You know what Ben Reeves tweeted out the other day, Jonathan? He tweeted out, if you do not offer Tristan Payne and one of the defensive players that's the very same caliber of football player that's being missed out on, if you do not come and offer these kids, do not show up at my building the rest of the time. You're not allowed. I don't care if we have a 4-star and a 5-star. Don't come. You're not allowed. I respect the hell up out of that. And I'd treat it the same way. And I'm going to, I think that's the way I'm going to do it. And I haven't texted 12, 15 football coaches about this kid as of the last 24 hours. And I should have done it months in advance. But the football coaches that I have texted over the last 24 hours, if you don't offer that kid, I'm done. I'm not going to see a kid you asked me to go see. I'm not giving you intel on a kid that I recently saw. I'm not sending you MP4 files of anything. I'm not giving you my opinion. I'm not helping you out on jack shit moving forward. If you do not take my word on this kid, then we're done. Period.
Love that.
I don't.
Well, I love that. I love that what Coach Reeves is doing and what you're doing. I don't love it that he's in that situation and he's getting the love that he deserves. All
you jokers are all the same, by the way. All you coaches, y'all treat me. And I had this conversation with Terrence Edwards yesterday. Terrence Edwards is a bona fide motherfucking dude. He ain't some guy with a podcast and a microphone that thinks his opinions are really good about players. It's a freaking CFL Hall of Famer, all-time record book holder in the SEC at a predominant program, and they don't take his word for it. He'll call guys about Tristan, and they won't take his word for it. But when they need a guy, they'll call Terrence. Hey, Terrence, what you know about so-and-so? Oh, how do I get in close? All you guys, you're all the same. You only need something when you need something. You don't take our word for it when we call you with a strong opinion about a guy. And you know what? It's always the middling staffs that always miss on these guys, right? You know why Ladd McConkey ended up at Georgia?
Why?
Because all these jokers were missing on him too. And Georgia was like, oh, I'll walk in February and grab that guy. Middle Tennessee State ain't never going to get serious about him. I'll walk in there and grab him. You know, like they do this every year with guys. They just did this with the Northern Illinois commit, the corner, right? That just got nabbed late in the cycle. They do this every year. Shame on y'all for allowing it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It sucks. It sucks and I know it's part of it's the portal attrition. It's the extra years of eligibility. I know why guys like Tristan Payne are getting overlooked, but I don't think it should happen. I don't think I have any other thoughts. Oh, here's one. Get out of cover 3. Wow. I don't know why my pops is calling me. Hope that's not anything serious. But I saw a championship caliber football team stay in cover 3 a couple years ago in college football. You remember? They gave up 65 points in a title game.
Oh, TCU?
TCU lined up in cover 3, 90% of snaps going into that football game. And I watched Todd Monken absolutely just carve up football teams year over year that want to just live in cover 3. Oh, no, here we go. Flooded to the boundary, right? Flooded to the boundary. You got 2 guys over there covering those 2 zones. Watch me throw 3 guys over there. Watch you shit down your leg, right? It seems so simple. I watch college guys do it. So if I watch high school guys do it, I'm not going to sit here and make fun of them for doing it because I've seen, guys that are playing for titles in college football do it too. So, Milton split that coverage for 4 quarters and ran the ball really well. TJ Lester, a West Georgia commit, Ichiro Suzuki. Smooth and fast. The rare combination. So shout out to that. Where should we go next, Jonathan?
Nate Frazier's getting some 2025 love, apparently, for a prestigious award, a Heisman Award. This was written by, I believe it was Mark Schlabach. ESPN did a way too early Heisman contestants, and Nate Frazier was on the list for Georgia.
Damn, Mark Schlabach's anti-Gunner Stockton deep state? That's crazy.
Apparently.
That's crazy. Normally, your quarterback on the national title contender on the perennial roster is the one in on the Heisman conversations. I'm throwing hella cash on Nico. Who else?
Arch.
Yeah,
DJ.
Shit, Arch. DJ Lightweight. Oh, never mind. I got bills to pay. Never mind. Can't do that. I do like this for Nate, though. I think Nate might be, or will be. I think Nate will be your first 1,000-yard back since DeAndre Swift.
Yeah?
That's a problem, boys. Boys, we just stumbled upon a problem. I know you're running back by committee, but we had to go all the way back to 2019 DeAndre Swift to find a grand.
I'm looking at this.
I know you are. I don't think you have to look at it. I think I'm right.
I think you are too.
I think we had 2 750-yard backs last year at Georgia, and I know we had about that this year at Georgia. Yeah, buddy, go ahead and check 2019. Yeah, I think it's DeAndre Swift, just over a grand.
2009. All right, now I'm on 2019. Let's see.
Did he go for 850 in 2019?
He went for 1,218.
So there it is. He went for 1,200 yards?
1,200 yards.
Wow, buddy, 8.
That was one of the only consistent options Georgia had that season.
Yeah. And a really good offensive line.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, really
Beat the
good.
shit out of you offensive line.
Yes.
Like 4 NFL dudes and 1 SoundCloud rapper.
SoundCloud rapper.
That's crazy.
And they have come close. There's been some 850s in there. I think Kenny McIntosh creeped up on 900 one season. Like, they've come close, but this one feels like the one because going into next year, you'll have some other names, obviously. Like right now, assuming ETN goes to the NFL, and everybody else stays to be Branson, Roderick, and Nate. But based on how this year has gone, it seems like Nate Frazier is going to be your number one option. You look puzzled about something.
Oh, I think is Kirby in the chat? Or is there somebody named Kirby in the chat?
It's someone falsifying.
Fake Kirby.
He is here.
Oh, he's here.
Just got off work. What did I miss?
Oh, money yesterday.
Oh, 2 jobs?
2 jobs?
Oh. So
Maybe
we're number 2?
Oh, no.
We're number 2?
You know what he's doing? He's trying to get fake lore of getting out of this I'm lazy thing, telling people he's dual employed. That's what he's doing. Y'all think I'm lazy. I work 2 jobs, that type shit.
He's flipping the script.
Yeah, flipping his script real quick.
Kirby, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad to know that you're safe. I was worried. I hadn't heard from you.
I know.
Just ghosted us. Don't know what that's about.
You know, I'm glad you're here, Curb.
I shared a seat in the Ranger with you, and just for a week, nothing.
Yo, his inside of his Ranger is crazy.
He got a bobblehead Jesus.
You got bobblehead Jesus, and what's his sign say on the passenger seat?
Yeah, this was my first true introduction to Christian. Like carpool into like first show we're ever doing from Athens, and on his dashboard in front of the passenger seat it says, "No airbags. We die like real men." And so I laugh and I'm like, "Oh, this is a joke, right?" He's like, "No, there's no airbags." I was like, "Oh,
power windows."
Nah, crank them, baby.
Hell yeah.
You got to crank them. I love a good crank window. My Jeep's got crank windows.
Too. I love a good crank window.
Love that.
I also love a good traditional key start. Yeah. Too many push to start.
Yeah, push start's lame.
I like a good. I want one of those.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Curb. Appreciate you for being here in the chat today, man. Getting off work and working some more. How about the kid? Now go write some articles. Where should we go next, Jonathan?
Let's see what else we got. Oh, what does success for Georgia in the playoff look like? And I kind of asked because I think that obviously there's been some changes. Like if Georgia loses in the quarterfinal round to Notre Dame or Indiana, is it okay because, hey, we had a backup, didn't have Carson Beck? Are we living with that? Or is it that's not our standard?
No.
Or like, do you have to win a title this year, or are you content just making it Final Four, making it to the title game? What is it?
Look, the only reasonable path that doesn't end in a national title that is acceptable to Georgia, and they will still attempt to fire somebody, is that they get all the way to the national title and give up 42 points to Oregon and lose. And at that point, it'll be like, okay, we lost the national title. Our starting quarterback was hurt. You'll have built-in excuses, but then you'll take right to Twitter, and you'll be like, we need to fire that joke of a defensive coordinator, Glenn Schumann. He gave up 40 in a national title. You'll feel goofy about it, but you'll have to blame something. But that path, which is the most reasonable path, I think it's the path that's going to happen. If I had to predict it today, I think you can out-defense, run the football, and score the entire side of your bracket. The only thing that scares me out of all the 11 teams that you could potentially face is getting into a shootout against Oregon. That's it. I think you can beat everybody else 27-21, Jonathan. Everyone. All right? But I think that's the standard for me. Be able to beat everybody 27-21 on good run defense, or a good defense and good running game.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the caveat with this this side of the bracket that you drew. Of every single team on this side of the bracket, you think that you've claimed and you kind of know that you're better than them. Like Notre Dame, you're more talented than Penn State. You've always said as a joke in the Big Ten, like they're not actually that good. They're just slightly better than a lot of Big Ten teams, and that's why they're always the third best Big Ten team. I mean, Boise State, for crying out loud, SMU, an ACC team, like. You claim and you know kind of that you're better than these teams, so regardless of what the quarterback situation looks like, you feel like you should beat those teams. But then you get to the championship game, if it's Texas, if it's Ohio State, if it's Oregon, you can kind of live with those. But not any of the teams on this side of the bracket, it seems like.
What would be a failure? Immediate, like Notre Dame or no, Indiana. If Indiana beats you, you're gonna be mad.
Yeah, if you lose Indiana or Boise State, if they nab you,
but if you get to Boise State, you at least won round one.
That's true.
Oh, sir.
What?
Paul Feinbaum tomorrow, 5:30.
Just flexing on everybody real quick.
I gotta confirm. It's just on
Got to hit the
Zoom.
agent up. Hey,
It's
is
on
there
Zoom.
room in the schedule tomorrow? 5:30?
Also, we do need to negotiate an appearance fee. At some point. Let me confirm this. You go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead and talk.
Yeah, I just think that Boise State, I guess, yeah, you would, but losing to a team that really just kind of ride and dies off of one guy and a team that is not from the Power 4 conferences, I feel like still would be considered as a failure. But I think that if you win the first round, if you were to lose to Penn State, you wouldn't like it, wouldn't leave a good taste in your mouth, but it would at least be like we made it to the next round of the playoffs and you won a playoff game. But I think that ultimately what would be where you can't really, there's no discussion too much about it, is you make a national title game, you play Oregon or you play Texas or any of those teams like I already mentioned, regardless of the result, barring an absolute blowout, I think Georgia fans would be content. And I think you should be, because I've kind of claimed this is Kirby Smart's most difficult coaching job ever. So if you make it to a national title game in this scenario, in this situation, and the current standing of Georgia football right now, you've exceeded, in my opinion. I know the standard is national titles. I know that the expectation is you compete for national titles, and you're doing that. But considering everything about this roster of injuries, drop passes, defense kind of being up and down, now your starting quarterback is hurt. I mean, running back room has been banged up. Everything, all the moving parts, things that maybe have or have not played out, you get to a national title game and you compete, and you come maybe a possession away from winning that thing, or you freaking win that thing. Major applause for what Georgia just accomplished under Kirby Smart, because he's been working his tail off, and that coaching staff has, and they've been doing a lot of things despite. I mean, there's not a lot of programs or coaches, in my opinion, that are surviving what Georgia has gone through this year. I mean, you'd lose to Georgia Tech, you lose to Kentucky. It's been incredible, in my opinion.
All important analysis points, all important talking points. The real important talking point and deciding factor is, do I wear – it's virtual tomorrow with Paul. Do I wear a suit virtually, or do I rock the normal film guy attire when I'm in, mom's basement?
Maybe a solid film guy polo.
Ooh,
or pullover.
Or maybe dress like those other guys.
Oh.
Yeah, a little 3-button.
I don't know that you own anything in your closet that's like the other guys. If you were to walk down in mom's basement wearing what the other guys wear, I would be terrified for my life, because something has happened. I don't know what. Aliens abducted you. Someone
more concerning moment for Brooks Austin's mental health. Watching him walk through a shopping cart or a shopping parking lot. Ooh. And not stand on the cart like it's a go-kart or like it's a scooter, or watching him come down the stairs dressed in, I don't know, let's call it khaki shorts and a 3-button polo.
Are there flip-flops involved?
Correct.
I'm walking out the door, putting in my resignation. I'm leaving, because it's not a safe place here anymore.
It's not
safe anymore.
Oh, man. What if I told you, Jonathan? What if I told you?
Yeah, I got this. I got a couple scenarios for you, and these are just kind of stemming off of, I think that these kind of got lost throughout the season that Georgia has had. And when I tell you these, are going to be like, yeah, kind of makes sense, but at the same time, like, wow, would have never guessed that this was happening. So first one. What if I told you Dominic Lovett is 7 receptions away from tying Brock Bowers' record for second most receptions in a season?
I would have said he definitely went for 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
But he didn't.
No.
But he didn't even go for 800, did he?
He's at 500 something right now, I think.
What if you would have told me he's probably second on the team in drops right now?
He might be leading. I don't know. Everybody thinks it's Arian Smith.
But like
Arian Smith is not leading the team in drops.
Who is?
I don't know, but
who's keeping drop stats, by the way?
This was from Unk in Discord, because he was dropping this the other day when someone was saying like, "Oh, he leads the team in drops," and he said Arian Smith does not lead the team in drops. I don't know who it is. He didn't mention him, but
Arian Smith definitely leads the team in yardage lost via a drop.
Oh, 100%, 100%,
no doubt about that. I guess he is leading the team in drops.
Oh, okay. Maybe some things changed since then.
When he says he is, I think he's talking about. Oh, here it is. Bell at 14, Lovett at 13, Arian at 10. Wow, Dylan Bell. Ouch.
Man.
Might be a running back.
Might be.
Right?
Might be. All right, here's another one. Speaking of good old Arian,
14 drops.
that's a lot. That's an average of 1 per game at least. Number 2, Arian Smith needs 115 yards to crack the top 10 for most receiving yards in a season.
One more time, I'm texting ESPN producers right
Okay.
now. My apologies.
Arian Smith needs 115 yards to crack the top 10 for most receiving yards in a season by Georgia Bulldogs.
One more time, I'm trying to figure out what I'm talking about on Paul Feinbaum's show tomorrow. Can you hit me? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Arian Smith, the Georgia wide receiver, wears number 11, sometimes in red, sometimes in white. Needs 115.
Is that the guy that used to run track?
Yes.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about now.
Okay. 115. That's 100 plus 15. 115 is how you would type it in your calculator.
Is that a prime number?
I don't know. I haven't been in school long enough. I've been outside of school too long to know that. We could crack the top 10 for season receiving yards.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's Georgia's all-time receiving record book. So it's top 10's inside. You go 850
I think
plus
it's
top 10.
886,
Yeah,
something like that. I don't know.
yeah. You get inside the 900s, buddy. You go retire your
you're putting it
jersey.
in.
They go hire you on the ESPN radio in the local markets.
You might as well chisel that sucker in concrete because you ain't never gonna have to change it again.
None.
Basically. Like the next 1,000-yard receiver that Georgia has, if they break Terrence Edwards' record, put it in permanent whatever. You will never have to move it. You will never have to change it because odds are that thing is never changing ever again.
Buddy, you think Buck Ballou has safe jobs around here? My God, you go for a rack at Georgia? Woo! You're going to be hired for life.
Just open the door. Hired.
Harry Douglas going to be scared. That's who's going to be scared. Harry Douglas going to be out here on ESPN going, shit, man. Georgia had a receiver go for 1,000 yards. I'm in trouble. People are like, who is Harry Douglas? Exactly.
Legend.
Exactly.
Hawks-
Legend.
Falcons
Louisville
legend.
Cardinal legend.
Falcons legend.
Yeah. ESPN legend.
Another classic scenario of Matt Ryan making a wide receiver seem a lot better than what he probably
Also,
is.
13-year-old Brooks with an Atlanta Falcon named Harry D. Oh, man. That guy loved saying that all the time.
By the way, I don't want this
Harry
to,
D for a tud.
I don't want this to go under the radar, but you made a tweet last night about the mediocre baseball player that 12-year-old you loved.
Yeah.
It fits you to a T that it would be Dan Uggla.
Why?
That's the most douchery baseball player you could ever draw up, ever. I mean, between the faux hawk that he rocked,
Hell
the
yeah.
massive biceps and forearms
Hell
that
yeah.
he had,
Hell
and
yeah.
just the chew that he always had where he had a smug look on his face. He looked
Hell
like
yeah.
a freaking dwarf.
Hell yeah.
Like that's you. That
Yeah.
fits the profile.
Yeah.
I'm glad that it fits the profile.
Checks out.
Consistency.
Yeah. I mean, I could have gone Dan Uggla or like Mike Lowell's too good to be mentioned in that context, as was Gary Sheffield. Someone mentioned something about Gary Sheffield, like a borderline Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's not media.
Like Dan Uggla is this. Dan Uggla stole $100 million from Atlanta
Yeah.
and
yeah.
bought brand new teeth with it.
Yeah.
Have you seen Dan Uggla's teeth lately?
I have not.
Almost as impressive as his forearms back in the day. Boy, he got them big white horse teeth. Does Dan Uggla now? I guess he quit chewing, and he's like, all them years of chewing done ruined my teeth. I'm gonna get these horse teeth now. It's distracting.
Yeah, I saw some Martin Prado mentions in your comments.
Hell
Martin
yeah.
Prado
Too good.
is not mediocre.
Too good.
Probably one of my all-time favorites.
Rafael
honestly.
Furcal make this list.
I was a big Michael Bourne guy. I don't know if that fits into this. He was an
Who is
all-star
that
though.
utility second baseman they had that wore two? Swung left-handed. Kelly something.
Oh, shoot. Yes, I know who you're
Kelly
talking
Johnson.
about. Kelly Johnson.
Kelly Johnson. I was a big Kelly Johnson guy.
Jordan Schaefer, Matt Diaz.
Marcus Giles. Oh, I got a Marcus Giles story for you, Jonathan.
Give it to
I
me.
used to go down in high school, spring training. You want to hear some real? Oh man, you're gonna judge me. You're gonna ask me where my trust fund is after this story. You ready? So I was high school teammates with the son of the general manager Frank Wren for the Atlanta Braves back in the day. So we during spring training used to go down and start our baseball season, getting to practice around the Magic World of Sports, whatever.
Yeah.
Practice on the they got 17 different fields out there, so we get to practice out there. So Matt Diaz was out here, an Atlanta Brave back in the day. Matt Diaz robs a home run in batting practice off the bat of one Chipper Jones.
Ooh.
So you can imagine the kid behind the fence just distraught that a Chipper Jones batting practice home run just got stolen from them. And at the time, Atlanta was kind of flirting around with potentially signing Ken Griffey Jr. You remember this?
Mm-hmm.
And the fan yells out, Ken Griffey would have let that kid have that home run ball. On second thought, real long sentence to chirp at a fan or chirp at a player. But nonetheless, the player turned around, Matt Diaz turned around and said, Griffey can afford to pay for the home run balls. And then threw the ball back into the infield. I'm thinking, Matt Diaz is a douche. Matt Diaz is a douche, man. What a D-bag. Matt Diaz sucks. And so I follow the fans back around. Batting practice ends. Same kid gets a ball, wants an autograph from Matt Diaz. Matt, can we have an autograph? Matt goes, sorry, kid, gotta go lift weights. Matt Diaz, D-bag. There's your story of the day.
I love that.
Are we good?
I think so. We'll just end it on that.
Just hit it at that. Matt Diaz, total D-bag. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review. We'll be back live tomorrow at noon. I got a film study, Clemson and Texas, coming up. Right meow. As soon as we end this one, I'm putting it up, putting it out. So make sure you stay on this network. Sorry for your bosses this week. You ain't getting shit done.